What's up, Escaping for GLD? Colin here for another video. This one on the insanity of local politicians. This one particularly Gavin Newsom, who I've been hearing more about since the lockdown. This guy is, I mean, it's California. I get it. I believe he's the mayor of California. I don't think I'm pretty sure he's the mayor, governor, whatever. I don't know the difference, but he's getting a lot of attention for some of the stupid things he's saying. And this latest and the most stupid thing I've probably heard during this whole pandemic has been is this recent one, which I got a post on. And there was a comment in here that I wanted to respond to because this itself has been covered and, you know, it's ridiculous as it is, but let's just get into it. So insanity, California restaurant customers asked to put on masks in between bites. And this is a picture of the completely ridiculous whatever. And so this is what I said. This should show you how dumb politics is and politicians that play the game are. The Morin literally tweeted that citizens of California should do their part and put their mask on in between bites. I made sure to verify this before posting because just how absurd it is. Never let a good crisis go to waste is the standard for the media and power-hungry politicians. And the only reason any of these sociopath individuals have any power at all is because the average person blindly agrees they do. I just hope America wakes up before it's too late. And there'll be a link below if you want to look into this. And there's a bunch of comments here. Most of them are just like, this is insanity, blah, blah, blah. He's a POS. And there's a comment that came in recently. So this one right here. I respect and appreciate your opinion. So that's good. They're coming at it with respect and whatever. That's good. If COVID lockdowns are political, what do you make of all the people outside the U.S., around the world, and outside of politics, our politics, that are falling victim to the virus? Okay? Let's give it a like because it was well measured. And this is my comment. This is what I want to talk about today. Thousands die every year in the U.S. alone from the flu. It's hundreds of thousands, I believe, from tuberculosis and other issues that nobody talks about, right? Because they're just kind of accepted. They haven't been politicized. And we're talking about millions of people around the planet. We're talking about thousands or hundreds of thousands in America. Okay? And then I go on to say millions, yes, millions die from lifestyle-related diseases that are preventable. Like stop eating fake food and sugar, ban that garbage if lives matter. And people are dying, as they always do, from a mix of things, right? This is, again, it's about 7,500 Americans a year die, all right? And, take that number to the next degree. And for the world population, I don't know, what's like 10,000 people a year die, or actually it's probably way higher than that. I think it's like 50 to 100,000 people a day die or something. I don't know. Somebody can find the stats. But with faulty tests and the politics of it, everyone now dies of COVID. That's weird because I was typing this. I didn't see any spelling errors. It's so bizarre that your mind just can basically blank those out of your perception. Which is why America has the most upward skewed numbers, because we have made it the most political and put private incentives in place to benefit those that maintain their narrative. The media, politicians, the left that's trying to get Trump out of office, these type of things, they have politicized this virus. I've seen people that have literally blamed the blank deaths on Trump. Like what are you talking about? Are you insane? It's like, even if this thing is killing people in droves the way they saying it's are, and even if the flu is now no longer killing anybody, and people aren't dying from other things and comorbidities and whatever, everyone's just apparently dying of COVID at this point, right? They're benefiting from maintaining this narrative because it's a political agenda, a political move. So another thing most people aren't talking about is the suicides. Suicide is also at a higher rate and resulting in more deaths than the supposed virus itself, which have gone up drastically due to lockdowns and the fear-mongering BS. The government in America is not here to restrict our freedoms, to protect us. That is not what America was founded on. In fact, America was founded, most people don't realize this, as limited government, because the founding fathers knew how dangerous it was to have a consolidation of power. And so they tried to create a three-branch decentralized system that's supposed to keep each other in check. It's supposed to limit government. It's supposed to do all these things. There was no income tax. All these things are a result of government being over 100 years old. And actually at this point, I think over 200 years old. I'd have to look at the math, or 250. And it's not what America was founded on, right? We become more socialist every year because politicians in the democratic system is never a long-term solution. Because why? Because politicians promise people to put things in their pocket. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you that. You've been marginalized. You deserve this. You deserve that. And people gobble it up because that's what they want to hear. And then whether or not that politician actually does anything in office, nobody really pays attention to that because they're already on to the next thing. Okay? We've become more socialistic as we've moved on as a country, and that's why we have all this insanity. That's why we have these problems. That's why we have people like this saying things like, put your mask on in between bites. Like, it's absolutely incredible that this is going on in America. All right. Every encroachment for safety will become a permanent removal of freedoms. Eventually, we have none left. Okay. Now, think back to 9/11 and the fight against terrorism. I haven't seen anybody mention the word terrorism once in 2020. I've not seen a single headline. I don't think I've seen somebody on a YouTube video say it. But guess what? Around that time, that's all anybody talked about. Every news article was terrorist this, terrorist that, whatever. Do you see how the media and the government and this perpetuation of a certain narrative and then tying that to political incentive, bills, policies, this and that, and how every time we do this, every time there's some new thing to be afraid of, every time there's some new boogeyman we have to go after or protect ourselves against, we give up more freedoms. Look at the Patriot Act, the most unconstitutional thing ever. They can basically label you a terrorist and then do anything they want. No due process, no lawyer. They can lock you up in Guantanamo Bay and that's that. Like literally the opposite of what America's supposed to be founded on. Yeah, there's so many variables here and they all have their own different rabbit holes to go down. But the reality is people die every single day, okay? Thousands of people die every single day. And they're going to keep dying. And if we keep convincing ourselves and the public and these idiot politicians and these hospitals that get paid to report things and they're reporting a guy that died in a motorcycle crash to having COVID and things like this, like literally this stuff's going on. And people still trust this data. They still listen to these idiots. It's unbelievable. Literally. Think about that a second. We know that data is manipulated. The government even years ago said that they were going to manipulate data like unemployment and things like that. They were going to basically say, well, these are not really going to be accurate, but we're going to manipulate them when we need to for a certain point, for a certain goal. And nobody said anything. Nobody even knows or thinks about that. So like the government says, these are the numbers. These are this. These are that. This is unemployment. This is immigration, whatever. And it's literally made up fairy tale numbers. And then people take that, the news picks it up, and everyone talks about it as if it's fact. And then nobody says, wait a second, what if all these things we're bickering about, what if they're based on a lie completely? Right? What if the death count and this and the numbers and whatever are based on tests that don't work? Because they don't. There's a ton of false positives and false negatives. Okay? If you had a common cold recently, you'll basically test positive for COVID. They also are doing things like testing you 10 times. And I've heard this with like NBA athletes. They have to take like multiple tests. And then after like 7 tests, if one tests positive, which will happen basically just due to testing error, then that person gets written down as having this, right? Like, do you see the absurdity of this? And it's all built on that. It's all built on really bad testing, manipulated data, cherry picking, and then political agenda incentive. People that actually believe anything the government says or that anybody on TV says are I don't know. I mean, they're brainwashed. They're sheep. And I have compassion for my fellow humans. It really disturbs me. All this disturbs me. But it's just like, there's also a point where people have to take responsibility and think for themselves, and they don't. They don't want to do it. They want to eat their fake food. They want to sit home and watch their Netflix, pay their bills, buy their crap on the weekend, get drunk on the weekend, like whatever it is. It's just like, this is the world we live in. And these are the byproducts that we get as a result. We get insanity like this. We get these idiots that actually somehow get voted into power, and then a crisis comes around and they use it to gobble up power and enact all these measures and laws and use fear-mongering and do your part and protect people and save lives and all this crap. And people gobbled up. They literally gobbled up, even though, again, it's all built on a lie. It's all built on manipulation. And it's also a complete degradation of American values and what this country is founded on. Tell this crap, tell your right to life and things like that, this absurdities that I've been saying, to the millions of Americans that fought in the world wars, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, right? The freedoms that today people take so easily for granted and give up so easily if they can feel like a little bit better that it might be protected. Tell that to those people.